Hello, everybody, and welcome to What Do You Say Anime. I am your host, Peter. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we have our cameras going up, and in the bottom right, we have my co-host, Adam. And today we will be talking about our top 10 favorite animes of all time. We thought this would be a good idea to personalize ourselves a little bit more so you can get an understanding of our taste. But before that, this is our 1 year anniversary of What Do You Say Anime. Adam, do you have any special moments, your favorite things about doing the podcast throughout this entire year?
I think my favorite podcast episodes we've done have been the anime Jeopardy games we played. They've been really fun. I know it was nice to get to know a lot of hosts from like other podcasts and stuff. But overall, from doing all these episodes, I realized just how difficult it is to actually like put together a podcast, like trying to figure the right words to say, like just off the top of your head can actually be much more difficult than I really gave it credit for.
Yeah, sometimes creating the content is a little iffy, and then trying to come up with what we want to say all together sometimes is a puzzle. I think by far our most popular episodes have been the anime Jeopardy. So thank you for watching that. That was really fun. And because of that, my favorite part of creating this podcast is kind of joining like a anime podcast community and meeting a lot of new people. Like Anime Rambling Boys, we had Anime Every Guys, Blake and Spencer Get Jumped. We had hashtag Anime Talk on. So it was really fun just getting introduced to those guys and having them on our show and just collaborating them and just talking with them on like Twitter and all that stuff like that. So it's really fun to just meet a bunch of new people, and not just inside the anime podcast community, just meeting people outside of like just like in real life, like people who are new to Twitter and having them check out our show, people asking us questions about the podcast. I'm really happy with like the outreach that our podcast has been able to like have on some other people who are looking to start a podcast, not just anime, but I've had people ask me how to start a podcast, what difficulties you have, and then just meeting new people throughout the way. So that's been a really fun moment for me. And I know you said that your favorite your favorite episode was the anime Jeopardy. Did you have a least favorite episode or a least favorite moment?
Um, that's actually a good question. I feel like the first few episodes we did,
Yeah.
we were having a lot of struggles with, and trying to find that right balance between a script and just being completely off the cuff was kind of, at least for me, was kind of difficult. I had a lot of nerves in those first few episodes,
Yep.
and I still do now, but it's something I've gotten, like, it's night and day difference compared to how I used to feel when I was started recording, where I couldn't even get my mind straight. As for biggest like disappointment in general, during that anime Jeopardy game, there was a question that came up that I should have been able to know the answer to, which was Oran High School Host Club.
Yeah.
And that makes me mad to this day that I spaced on that name.
Yeah.
Because that is one, we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite anime. And that was in serious consideration for making this list. But my thought that I couldn't remember the name when it mattered most made me leave it off just for that reason.
I think that's just part of the nerves of playing these like trivia style games and just having to know it on the spot. I think if you had more time, I think you definitely could have gotten that answer correct.
Oh, absolutely. It really came down to just the nerves of like recording and like not wanting to make a fool of myself, that I ended up making a fool of myself there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people shot themselves in the foot and then realized, like, looking back on it, it's like, how did I get that wrong type of thing. It's just,
Yeah.
so I know I've played a other type of anime trivia, and I've definitely shot myself in the foot. Like, how did I not know? Like, that's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's just like, how did I not get that answer? So I know the feeling of knowing something and just having that mind blank. Just like, ah.
Like it's right there on my shelf. Like that was the thing that was bothering me the most, is like I know what it is. I have it on my shelf over here to the left of me, and I can't figure it out. And it was disappointing. But yeah, but overall, it's a fun time, and I'm glad that we decided to do this. And it's surprising it's already been an entire year since we started.
I know, it's crazy. I know, just branching off that, what you said about like being scripted and being off the cuff, that our first episode was so heavily scripted that it just felt so unnatural after like reading or like hearing it back for the first time. Just like, okay, we need to do something completely different for the second episode, because our first episode was awful, and which is sad because we put in a lot of work for it and it was trash. But it definitely like made me realize, like, okay, if this is the type of content I want to keep producing, we need to like step our game up. And I think obviously just the communication with each other is way more natural if we don't have it scripted. So definitely like having like maybe like a scripted intro, but in situations like this is just all off the cuff, and I just like talking to you about anime.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I think we had to kind of find our repertoire with each other. It took a little bit of time and a few episodes to get, but I think we've done a fairly decent job. And over the next year, we'll improve upon that as well.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to improve on is personalizing me and Adam as like so people know who we are. And one thing was like the visual content that we're providing now if you're watching on YouTube. But the other one was our types of anime and our tastes. So I thought this would be a really good idea of doing our top 10 because it's so both of ours are pretty vast in types of genres that we can really not just be like my favorite animes of all time are Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball Z, like a lot of male anime watchers are, where ours is a little different. And I think that'll be a good way to diverse ourselves and really personalize each other or personalize ourselves with our audience. So, without further ado, how about we get started on our top 10 list?
Let's do it.
All right, first up for me, we're going to start from the bottom to the top. And for me, my number 10 anime of all time is an anime called A Place Further Than the Universe. Now, A Place Further Than the Universe is most of the time I watch anime as a form of medium to just like relax and escape. And A Place Further Than the Universe came to me at a time of my life where I wasn't looking for something like this, but it hit me at the right time. So the story is about 4 girls who go to Antarctica, and each one of them have a different reason of why they want to go to Antarctica. One's mom was lost there, and she was like a researcher. One wanted to just get away. One was like an idol and was there for a job, and the other one just wanted to be there because she felt like she was wasting her youth. And I personally that's who I connected with as a character, because when this show came out, it was when my mom was battling breast cancer, and luckily she's okay, so don't worry. But it came in life where time is something that we all have to take for granted, and this was a show where you need to go out and experience life itself. And whether if that's doing something simple, like for me, this was a huge inspiration of why I wanted to start the podcast. There's something really light about it, but this show is like, okay, podcasting is something I want to do. This show actually legit gave me courage. Or if you've seen Gigek's video on why this show meant so much to him, it could be something life-changing where he legit like went on a life like changing trip like the girls do in the show. And it's just a show that came to me at the right time, and it's so heartwarming and just a beautiful animations and a beautiful show, and I absolutely adore it. I know that it's not really like what most people consider like maybe a top 10 show of all time, but to me it's just one of those shows that came at the right time when I needed it the most. Adam, do you want to get to your number 10?
All right, so my number 10 is an anime called One Outs. And I'm just going to guess a lot of people haven't heard of this series because it's nearly impossible to find unless you look on YouTube, actually. I think is the best place to find it right now. But it isn't able to be streamed in North America, as far as I know, by any legal means. But One Outs crosses professional baseball or professional Japanese baseball with the world of gambling. And the premise is the main character's name is Toa Taguchi, who is a above average pitcher, but he pitches in like this underground gambling ring in a game called One Outs, where people basically bet on being able to strike a batter out. And after a gambling incident goes awry with a professional baseball player, he's kind of forced to join the major leagues because this baseball player realizes he's just that good at reading competition, and he wants to win a pennant before he's forced to retire. And so Toa ends up getting into a gambling. His contract is basically a giant gamble with the owner of the team. The owner of the team that he's going to play for is just a jerk who cares nothing about the team winning, but just making money. And so Toa uses his intellect and gambling prowess to con this owner of this team out of billions of yen, and at the same time bring his team to win a pennant. And For me, when I watched this show, I think it was sometime in like I was in the middle of college at the time. I don't remember the year exactly, but like I really liked the idea of like breaking down like video games I was playing and analyzing it. And
Yep.
Toa is the best analyst in that you will ever see in like in an anime. Like he's able to read people better than I think better than like a character like L or Light from like Death Note. Like he's just that good. And I really like connected with the character there. Plus it's one of my favorite sports, baseball. And it doesn't really take that whole baseball approach to it. Baseball is more of like a backdrop to the mind games and the gambling. And I just found that crossover between the two really, really intriguing. So if you like baseball but enjoy gambling and mind games, this might be a show you want to check out. One Outs is really good.
I do like all three of those, and I have definitely heard like great things about One Outs. I have been recommended it multiple times. So, but you're probably the first person I've seen that has it on their top 10. But it's cool to see like a different, like a unique types of shows on the top 10. So that's really cool that you did One Outs.
Yeah, it really speaks to me. I think I don't necessarily think it's a 10 out of 10 show, but I think just the things it have speaks to me as an individual.
Sure.
And that's what I think really makes it stick out for me and why I wanted to at least give it my 10th spot.
Yeah, and this is our top 10 favorite, maybe not the top 10 best, but our favorite anime. So we'll move on to number 9, and my number 9 favorite anime of all time is Code Geass. It is a military, like, how to describe it correctly. Essentially, a kid gets a power called a Geass, and he can use it once on every person in the world. Essentially, he can tell them whatever they want to do, or whatever he wants them to do, and he uses that power to take over, essentially, the world. But first, he kind of has, like, this militia. It is 2 seasons in a movie, but the movie's like a sequel to the Code Geass movies and not the show, so it's a little funky. But it's like mecha action, psychological. There's some like random like romance scenes in there, but I wouldn't consider this at all a romance. But that's like one thing I did not like about Code Geass was like the random like scenes. But this is going to be a spoiler alert, but one of my favorite scenes of all time in anime is when you've seen Code Geass, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, when he accidentally uses his Geass on Nunnally, or not Nunnally, what's her name? Okay, I'm blanking. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't remember her name. But he uses the Geass and he accidentally, like, essentially tells her to kill everybody, and they do in the stands, or in the audience, and he's just like, oh fuck, like, I'm this main character that's super overpowered, but even I can screw up. And I really like that, like, it humanizes this overpowered villain, but it shows that even the villain can make big mistakes in his plan. It's not just all, like, this Deus Ex Machina where everything turns out correctly. Like, even in the show, like, hey, I can fuck up too and ruin my own plan. And so that's just one of the things I liked it. I like the mind games, the back and forth between essentially Lelouch's militia versus Britannia. And the cool, like, supernatural powers that are also involved with it added, like, a little twist to it. The mecha fights, not the biggest mech fan, even though I have 2 mechs in this list. The mech fights are fantastic, especially in the movie. They're unbelievable. So my number 9 slot goes to Code Geass.
Yeah, that scene that you were talking about when I believe he says something like, I could make you kill all of these people in the stands or whatever. I think it's something along those lines. Is like really impactful and like, oh crap, and it really hits you.
Yeah,
I like that.
He's just like, fuck, I can't believe I did that. It's just like, it's such a great scene because I like it when they flip the script and the hero, or I guess in this case, depending on how you view him, the villain doesn't always win, or the hero doesn't always win. Sometimes he loses in his journey. So that's just one thing I liked about it.
All right, so my 9th favorite anime is Kenichi, History's Mightiest Disciple. And Kenichi is about a weak nerd, essentially, that is basically the bottom of the totem pole that wants to learn martial arts so that he can protect the people he cares about. But he starts off joining the karate club at school, and they won't let him train because he's too small. They basically use him as a punching bag. And he meets this this blonde bombshell Miu who's really cute, who's getting attacked by some thugs, and she ends up beating the crap out of him, like going all like a ninja, goes crazy on him, and he basically asks her like, "Where the heck did you learn this?" And she tells him that she lives at a dojo, and so he goes to this dojo to learn martial arts so that he can like learn to defend himself. And the dojo has like a whole bunch of masters of different types of martial arts, like karate, Chinese kempo, Muay Thai, and they train him from this loser who can't do anything, who's just a punching bag, to being history's mightiest disciple. And the thing I like about the show is that even though it is a really high shonen like fantasy where there's a lot of stuff isn't really realistic, isn't going to happen exactly the way the show makes it out to happen. Like there's no way a person can actually train as hard as he does, but the techniques and martial arts that they use are based in real martial arts. Like they show you like diagrams and explain like the history of different martial arts, which I find to be really cool. And I think Kenichi's just a really likable character. It's a really fun shonen series that I don't know if a lot of people know about, and I think it deserves a lot more credit than it gets. It's 25 episodes long and has, I believe, 3 OVAs, and the manga is really good. The dub of the anime is all right. I've watched it a few times. It's pretty good. But if you like martial arts anime, definitely check out the sub of Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple.
I think it's only streaming on Amazon Prime, because I only know that because every time I log into my Amazon, it tells me to watch the show. It's like the first show that pops up on Amazon for me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like if you go on like my Amazon homepage, it says like Amazon Prime Video Kenichi, the something disciple dude, and it's like, it's shonen, so.
It's very, very shonen, but
yeah.
it has that fan servicey bits of it. Like Miu is a very well endowed girl, but I don't know. I think the series does a lot of really good hand to hand martial arts scenes that I think people would enjoy. If you're a fan of shonen shows, I think you'll like Kenichi.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing like this show kind of looks bad, and I looked up its Mal score and it was like an 8.2. It's like, oh damn, like people like this show, so.
Yeah,
maybe down the road I'll check it out, but
I think the manga is preferred by a lot of people. Okay. Like I haven't really talked to a lot of people who are familiar with both the anime and the manga, but the manga definitely goes a lot farther than the anime does. It completes the whole saga, the whole story. The anime only goes through about the first of like 4 arcs.
Okay.
So.
Right on. All right. So that was number 8 for Adam. Oh, sorry, number 9 for Adam. Moving on to number 8 for me goes to, I said there would be another mech in this list, and that is Gurren Lagann at my number 8 slot. I think at the time when the show came out, like its visuals were unbelievable, and they still are to this day. Trigger does an amazing production on this show. I love, one of my biggest things in anime is the story and characters, and this does not shy away from either of those. The sci-fi elements of them fighting these giant random aliens and like light years away in giant mechs is like just and out of the like blue like story arc. I thought it was fantastic. The whole trying to keep the population under 1 million people is like really unique. Let's talk about like the amazing characters. Your favorite character of all time, Simone, yep. And I absolutely adore him, especially adult Simone is just such a great character. And then best boy Kamina, who unfortunately passes away, but still a great character nonetheless. And he just makes that impact in 7 to 8 episodes. It really shows how great of a character he is when he's only in a third of the show. Absolutely enjoy like the visuals, the fighting. The characters are so over the top and beautiful with Trigger's animation. I can't say more enough about how good Gurren Lagann is. The last episode, holy shit, the wedding scene broke my heart. Like that, if I look back on like this, it's beautiful and sad at the same time. So I consider it like one of the most like sad moments in anime history because I care for Simone so much, and seeing what happens to Nia at the end is just so heartbreaking, but at the same time it's so beautiful because they got to experience the love that they had. So it's bittersweet, but everything about Gurren Lagann I love. Check it out. It's on Netflix. 27 episodes, I believe. So my number 8 goes to Gurren Lagann.
All right, and my number 8 is going to one I'm going to bet is the least viewed show on my entire list. Might be the least known show on both our lists. Just guessing. But that's going to Tohai Densetsu Akagi, or Mahjong Legend Akagi. This is a series I believe you can find on Crunchyroll. I might be wrong. I think it's still on Crunchyroll right now. But if you're not familiar with the game of Mahjong, it follows that. It's a game similar to poker, but played with tiles. And it's about creating like very complex hands. I can't explain the rules to you now because you could write a thesis on the rules of Mahjong. Sure. But the story takes place in 1958. Akagi Segaru is a high school like delinquent. He plays a game with chicken that ends up with someone he's playing with dying off screen. We don't see it, but he stumbles into a bar where a game of Mahjong is being played by the Yakuza, is being run by the Yakuza. And there's this guy in there who is indebted to them, who's basically about to lose everything he has and probably his life. And Akagi, even though he has no idea the rules of the game, doesn't really care. He just wants the thrill of gambling and inserts himself into this game, learns the rules in a heartbeat, and basically saves this guy's life. And in doing so, he dives headfirst into life stakes Mahjong gambling. It's over the top in terms of like what these people are willing to bet with. Like there's a scene where they're literally gambling with the blood in their veins. Jeez. And whenever they lose hands, instead of losing dollars, they're losing blood out of their own body until the point where they will die or pass out at the table. And it's dark. Yeah. It's a dark gambling anime, and I absolutely love it because Mahjong is a fun game, and it's kind of like the reason I liked One Outs, where you have this guy who's able to sit there and read people like they're an open book, and that makes him overpowered. And he's facing off against all these people that are cheating, whether they're using like stages where the other two players in the game are working for them, trying to throw them winning tile pieces, or whether they're using a set of rules that give them a huge advantage. He always finds a way to win, and the stakes are always over the top, and I love it. If you know how to play Mahjong and you like gambling anime, this one is the best you'll find.
I'm getting a strong vibe of gambling and some form of activity with you in your list.
So I enjoy sports. Like I like competition.
Yep.
So like some of my favorite anime, even in like shonen genre, are ones with really, really good tournament arcs. And that'll come up again later. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of competition and risking it all and doing anything to win, even if it means bending the rules. And a lot of these shows on my list, there's a lot of that.
That's awesome. That honestly seems right up my alley. So I've never heard of it literally until I got your list. So I think it's one I'm gonna actually legit add to my plan to watch list because that sounds great. So that was our number 8. We're gonna move to our number 7. For me, my number 7 is Mob Psycho 100. Mob Psycho 100 has my favorite character in anime history. That's Reagan. It has a cast of wonderful characters, from the Body Improvement Club to Mob himself to the character development of his brother, and the villains are fantastic as well. The action and animation combined are top tier, if not one of the best of all time in anime. I love everything about Mob Psycho. The OPs are incredible. 99.9 from last year, from its second season, was, in my opinion, the best animation ever done in an OP. And everything about Mob is just incredible. Mob as he progresses through season 1 to season 2, you see his growth, especially in the first episode of season 2 where he kind of gets his heart broken by a girl, is pretty heartwarming, and you see how he develops as a character. And then the best episode, in my opinion, is when Reagan comes out and says that he is, like, he's essentially a fraud to all these people, and then Mob is like, I already knew you weren't a real, like, psychic, but you're a good person, and you're still like my teacher. And it just breaks my heart because this Mob is such a good dude. I love Mob so much, and I love how Reagan, like, also, like, grows from being like this scummy scam artist to this nice scummy scam artist throughout the series. So definitely a big fan of Mob Psycho and its characters. Its characters are so good. The Body Improvement Club, how they just lift up Mob's spirits when he's just trying to get in shape, is so funny. And the whole ensemble of Mob Psycho's 100 is amazing, and that's why I love it so much, and that's why it's my number 7 of all time.
All right, moving on to ensembles.
Yeah.
Mine is a completely different style of ensemble.
Please say more.
And my number 7 is High School DxD. Now, we've gone from all these really, like, dark and edgy shows for me to the complete opposite. So I don't think I really need to explain what High School
DxD for the plot
is to a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
it's the plot.
High School DxD is a show about a pervert whose goal is to have a harem of women after him. He becomes a demon and he gets his demon harem. It's shown in action with more tits and ass than it might as well be considered a hentai, but it has too much of a good plot to be a hentai. Because the story in High School DxD isn't all that bad. It's actually really good and enjoyable.
It's not that bad at all.
No, it's like, I really like the story to High School DxD, but it is very, very shonen. But I think it does it in all the right ways. And if you like big-breasted anime chicks,
who doesn't?
This show is entirely that. It's big-breasted anime chicks fighting, and a main character whose special ability is to make girls naked.
Yep. The rating game, I think the rating game is genius, honestly. It's how that's put together. I think is really cool how they class each other by a chess piece, and then each chess piece has a point system, and then the point system goes into the rating game. Then you have to, like, build a team based off your rating. So I really like that aspect of the show.
I like that aspect, but my only issue with it is they don't use it enough. Like, it's a really, really cool concept where you use all the chess pieces, you form a small battalion, and you fight other demons to basically determine your rank in the demon hierarchy.
Yep.
And as you, like, rank up and beat different demons, you can move up the ladder till eventually you're considered that you and your underlings of demons are, like, the strongest team. And there's world-saving stuff going on and apocalyptic wars with the gods and other types of mythologies besides just, like, Christian mythology.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool system that I don't think they emphasize enough. But overall, this show is it's a really fun show to watch, especially if you don't mind over the top tits and ass.
Yeah. And when it comes to ecchi, like High School DxD, for example, if it's going to be ecchi, I want it to be over the fucking top. That's why I like Prison School so much. It's like, we're not hiding the ecchi. It's in your face. And that's why I don't like shows like Fire Force, where the show is about fighting and all this stuff, and then it's just like, here's a random pair of tits. It's like, what's the point of that? Where High School DxD, it does not hide it at all. And like you said, the plot is good. And, like, the comedy is funny. And, like, the characters themselves are, like, really good, too. So, honestly, it's not that bad of a show. Season 4, but, like, the first 3 seasons are okay.
Yeah, and the characters are diverse too. Like, you get your anime stereotypes. Like, you have your tsunderes, you have your kuderes, you have your, like, big sister style, you have the shy nun. Like, they cover every different fetish you could possibly have, and it's not in a gross way where the main character is the only one that's into all the TNA that's going on. All of the girls are down.
Yep.
Which makes it so much better because it doesn't feel like you're watching a show where half where the people that are on display, so to speak, don't want to be there. They're game from the very get-go, and in most situations it's the women that are initiating like all the sexual everything that happens.
Yeah,
So
I'm a big fan that Issei is not like a bland bitch protagonist. Well, he kind of is, but like he's not like he goes for it. Like he's not like sitting around like other harems do type of thing where it's like
yeah,
he knows what he wants and he's going for it.
Yeah, he's not oblivious to their feelings. The one thing you could say to him is like, there's a point where it gets to where like, will you just finally score already?
Yeah.
But they give him what I feel is a well-deserved like explanation for why he doesn't, and that's explained in the first couple episodes. So I'm not gonna just entirely spoil it, but like I feel like they give him enough justification for why he doesn't just go all the way with all the girls that it feels like he's earned like the credit that he gets.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think it's not that bad of a show. So I'm just like I said, we were talking earlier. I was surprised it made your top 10 of all time, but it's a fun show. So
I think it speaks to who I am. Like you'll kind of like if you get to know me, like I'm an unapologetic pervert. Like I don't even care. I watch hentai. No issue with it for me. So.
I salute you. That's some of us are not as brave as you, Adam. All right, moving away from huge tits and ecchi to something a little bit more serious. For my number 6 is a show that maybe you've heard of, but I think a lot of people haven't watched, and that's Kids on the Slope. And Kids on the Slope is a story that takes place in like 1950s, 1960s Japan. And it centers around mainly three people's love for jazz and the intertwinings of just relationships while in high school. I thought in the beginning of the show, I thought this was like a slice of life music anime. And it turns out that there's a lot of like twists and turns with romance, which I am a absolute sucker for. So it turns into this great loving, I should say loving because there's a lot of drama too, but there's a good romance, good slice of life, amazing music. The jazz in this music is incredible. They reference so many different like jazz artists that personally I'm not like super familiar of, but I do like jazz music. So the music that they play, just the trials and tribulations of growing up in this like different era that we don't really see in anime, where there's a scene where they're in a jazz club and there's United States like Navy people there. And this is like right after World War II, so Japanese people aren't too fond of Americans, and Americans aren't too fond of Japanese, so you get these drunk like Navy people like essentially just saying slurs in like this jazz club, and just like really awkward. And it's just really cool how they interact it with jazz in like these like awkward situations that you don't normally see in anime. So it's mostly like a drama romance with jazz, and those things just like compelled me. And it's just one of those shows where I was watching it until 4 a.m. on a work night. Like something about this show just hit me, and I watched like 3 episodes and it was like 1 a.m. I'm like, I need to go to bed, but this show is just hooking me. And I watched all of it in 2 days. I think I ended up passing out at like 4:30, and it's just one of those shows that you'll see later on. There's another show that absolutely hooked me too, that has like kind of the same elements, and I just highly recommend Kids on the Slope for anybody who's a fan of like romance and drama and amazing story.
All right, moving on to my number 6 is a show I think a lot of people are going to be familiar with, Death Note. And for those who aren't experienced with Death Note, it's about character Light Yagami, who's a high school student who finds a book of death, or the Death Note, dropped by the Shinigami Ryuk. And this notebook gives him the ability to kill anybody he wants by writing their name in it and giving them a time of death and a cause of death if he so chooses to give them one. Otherwise, they'll just die of a heart attack. But Light decides he's going to eliminate all crime and evil in the world by killing off all those he seems to be unfit to continue living. And he basically decides he's going to be the god of this new world that he's going to create. This doesn't go unnoticed, though, by like the Japanese government, and they call in like the FBI, CIA, and the like different organizations around the world to try to figure out a way to stop this vigilante murderer. And they decide that the only person that can do it is a guy named L, whose real identity is unknown, which makes him the perfect person to take on a criminal who can kill by just knowing their name. And so it becomes a battle of wits between Light and L to determine who's going to figure out the other one's identity first. It's another one of those battle of the wits style shows.
Yep.
Dark premise, a lot of death and murder and deceit in this show, but anyone who's seen it will tell you this is a wonderful, wonderful anime. A lot of like psychological mind games being played between both parties, and it's a really fun series. The Netflix adaptation is
good.
Not good, however, so do not watch the live action.
I mean, it's bad. Just kidding.
Yeah, don't watch the live action version. Watch the actual anime, because the anime is well worth your time.
I believe it is the most popular anime of all time according to my anime list. So
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's a very good show.
Yeah, it's critically acclaimed, highly rated, highly watched. So no surprises that it's on your top 10. Personally, this will be very shocking. I have not seen it.
Yeah. I have plenty of those, which I might be brave in admitting some things, but there are some shows I'm not brave enough to admit I haven't seen because people will take my otaku card away.
I think that's like I hosted an anime podcast. So I haven't seen Death Note. It's like, but I have seen a lot of other anime. I swear. So
yeah,
it's kind of like let me balance it out with like these other animes you haven't seen. So, but no surprise, I saw the Netflix movie. I thought it was okay, but that's because I haven't seen the anime. So
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
if you watch the anime, you'll know what you're missing once you see that. You'll be like, oh, I see why people said that.
For sure. All right, so that was our number 6. Mine was Kids on the Slope. Adam's was Death Note. Now we have reached the halfway point, and my number 5 is Haiku. I think it has the best overall cast of characters in any anime. I think almost every single character on the team itself all has like very unique characteristics, and it makes each individual that much better. And it's one reason why I absolutely love it. I think it has one of the best soundtracks of all time. I listen to it while I'm like running and while I'm working, because it has the combination of like upbeat, high tempo music, but also has like really chill OST as well. So it's like a really nice combination of music. Season 3 is my favorite arc of all time. Tsukishima has the best character development in my opinion, in anime history. I fucking love Tsukishima. He's so good, and a little biased because I kind of can look like him if I put a wig on, and he is my cosplay when we could go to cons, but now we can't this year, but he's going to be my first ever cosplay. So rest in peace to my boy Tsukishima. He's not actually dead in the show, but he's dead in the con world. I'm just trying to think of what else I could say about it. I love the dynamics between Hinata and Kageyama, as those two are essentially the main characters, and just their growth throughout the entire show. The animation is on point. As somebody who played competitive volleyball, it's pretty good. It's like 90% realistic and then like 10% shonen, and I really like that mix that they really add to like the effects of like a spike or like a save, and they're like chance ball, one touch. It's just like I really like those little aspects of the show. And to me, I adore Haiku. I recommend it to everybody. I try to tell people that it's an amazing story, amazing characters, that they just so happen to be playing volleyball. So I know a lot of people don't like sports anime, and I try to tell them that there's so much more to it than just volleyball. So my number 5, there we go, number 5 is Haiku.
All right. My number 5 goes to Your Lie in April. And this series is a series that focuses around music and love and loss of passion. This series is about a pianist named Kosei Arima. When his mother dies, he loses the ability to hear the notes of the piano when he plays. And that basically causes him to give up on the one passion he has in life. And then one day in high school, his friends force him along to go on this like double date of sorts. And he meets this violinist named Kaori Miyazono. and she is, like I said, she's a great violinist, but she basically pushes Arima to not give up on his dreams and to face his demons and to pick up the, well, I shouldn't say pick up the piano again, but continue playing the piano and not give it up, even though he's had a traumatic incident in his past. And it's a really, really beautiful story about like classical music, and the love and relationships in this story are really, really good. It's a tearjerker. It'll make you cry. It's one of a couple tearjerkers on my list, but I think the characters in this anime are amazing. The music is 10 out of 10, and the visuals for when they're playing the music are some of the best like violin and like animations I've ever seen. Like the way they animate Kaori when she's playing is fantastic. So if you like classical music and you're into like romance and tragedy, like this is a really, really good show.
Nothing but good things about Your Lie in April. I think it's one of the highest rated animes of all time for that reason. So that was our number 5. Mine was Haiku, and Adam's was Your Lie in April. Moving on to number 4. For me, it goes to Hunter x Hunter. I think is one of the best shonens ever made. I'm really itching for more because I know that the manga is technically on hiatus, but it's not done yet. So, crossing my fingers. I know it's never going to happen, but I'm crossing my fingers that we get more Hunter x Hunter maybe 20 years down the road. But it is a fantastic story of our main character Gon, and he meets a lovable cast of characters like Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika. And it's just their adventures of trying to be these things called hunters, who are essentially, if you pass this test, you're a billionaire and you can do whatever you want. One thing I really love about Hunter x Hunter, and I always shun My Hero, but I'm going to shun My Hero again. One thing I don't like about My Hero is that Deku is the main character, and it's unfortunate because he's not the best character, and that takes away from the show. In Hunter x Hunter, Gon is the main character. He's not the best character, and it doesn't take away from the show. I think that the entire, like, the main 4 people in the show make it so good. I love the relationship between Gon and Killua. I love Kurapika's, like, backstory and how he's trying to get revenge. I love how Leorio's just trying to, like, be this person that he doesn't really know who he wants to be, and at the end he, like, becomes, like, this great man. And it's just a great journey of, like, a lot of these, mainly these 4, but mostly between Gon and Killua, especially when you see in, like, the Chimera Ant arc, you see it in Greed Island, you see it in New York, New City, of, like, these great friendship moments between the two, and it's just so lovable, but at the same time, they're, like, killing people, so it's a great, like, mix of great characters for me, which I love, great action, man, what else to say? Hisoka is my second favorite character of all time. I think he's an absolute amazing villain. I wish he was, like, captured more, but I love the fact that he's, like, this creepy-ass perverted clown. And that's horrifying, and that's great for a villain. And it's that whole aspect of it is fantastic. There's not much more I can say about Hunter x Hunter. I think a lot of people think Chimera, or I should say this, when people ask what the best arcs in anime history are, a lot of people say the Chimera Ant arc from Hunter x Hunter. I'm more of a Greed Island type of guy, but there's so many countless great arcs in this show, which is hard to do in the shonen when it's spanned hundreds of episodes, where a lot of time you get, like, filler, or you get, like, arcs that are, like, 20 to 30 episodes long that are stinkers. I think Hunter x Hunter just hits the note on every single arc that they have, and it's one of the reasons why it's my number 4 of all time.
All right. My number 4 is one we've already discussed a little bit already, but I'm just going to give my 2 cents on it, and that is Gurren Lagann. And so I think a lot of the stuff Peter already said has been discussed, but I'll just kind of touch on my points. Simone is, like Peter said, is my favorite character of all time. I think he has, of all the anime characters and shows I've seen, has the most relatable growth arc for me, because I relate so much to young Simone, and I want to be everything older Simone becomes.
Yep.
And for me, that's just a connection I don't get with a lot of protagonists. A lot of protagonists either start off with, like, this special thing about them that just makes them better than everybody else, to the point where they're kind of unrelatable, or they're just so one note that they're more of just a self-insert character. Simone is a character by himself, but he's one that I can see existing and I totally see myself as. And as he grows to be like Kamina, it's it's like seeing your idol and like you watch yourself grow into that idol that they wanted to be. And so for me, like there's no better character than Simone from Gurren Lagann. The music is amazing. The visuals, 10 out of 10. I still love them. I still love watching the show. It's the only mecha on my entire list, and that's because I hate mech anime. The only mecha shows that I've ever watched to completion are Code Geass and Gurren Lagann.
Yep.
And I've watched a little bit of like Zoids when I was in like middle school.
Great show.
But like there's no way I would put a show like Gurren Lagann on this list so high if it didn't have some of the best characters. And like, yeah, characters I think is like the big thing for me. It has the best characters in a show.
Can't complain because it's on my list too.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our number 4. Mine was Hunter x Hunter, and Adam's was Gurren Lagann. Moving on to our number 3. For me, is Konosuba. Now, I know, Adam, recently you said that your high school DxD, well, you liked it because it was so fun. And to me, I think Konosuba is the most fun anime that I've ever seen. I think its rewatchability is the best. It has an amazing sub, and it also has an amazing dub, which is really hard to do in a lot of shows. And I've seen both, and I recommend both to each. Like, if you like dubs, this is one of the best. I love it. Like, Erica Mendez is Megumin, and she's like my favorite English voice actress. So it has an amazing dub. It's kind of interesting because like the visuals are all over the place because I know season 1 was done by 2 different studios. So like you have like its bits and pieces of amazing animation. But what really stood out for me, why it's number 3, was the movie. Adam, me and you saw the movie in theaters, and I laughed my ass off. The movie is incredible. It is my favorite anime movie of all time, and it's about just silly nonsense of just a group of idiots like going to just do stupid missions, and that combination between amazing like voice actresses and actors and silly concepts of like the situations that they get in. Like one instance they have to battle flying cabbage. Like it's just like stupid things like that I love the show. And of course like I love like Aqua's like idiot side. I love Megumin's like explosions, and I love Darkness being like a misogynist, and Kazuma being for gender equality and all that fun stuff. And it just mixes a hodgepodge of everything and makes it into an amazing show, an amazing movie. I'm assuming we're getting a 4th season, or technically I guess a 3rd season, but like the movie is technically a sequel. So because Crunchyroll got Isekai Quartet season 3, so I'm assuming we're gonna get another season of Konosuba, which I can't wait. I think it's a show that I could recommend to almost anybody who watches anime. This is definitely not a first-timer anime to watch, but I just love it so much. It's so much fun. It always brings a smile to my face, and that's why Konosuba is my number 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think everything you said there is spot on. Like the characters are freaking hilarious. And the movie had some of the best visuals that I've seen in anime movies in a long time. There's obviously Your Name and Weathering with You, which had great visuals. But in terms of like I'm gonna call it a shonen, like it's a shonen style movie. Yeah. It blows like the My Hero Academia movie. I think it blew it out of the water.
I do
in
too.
90% of the scenes. There's only the one cool combat scene in My Hero.
Yep.
I haven't watched the One Piece movie yet.
Stampede.
Yeah. But like all the shonen movies that I've seen, like the Yu-Gi-Oh movie and stuff like that, they don't compare to that. Like Konosuba has the best shonen movie I've seen ever.
It's so good, and if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's especially if you've seen Konosuba. It's on Crunchyroll.
Absolutely.
You have no excuse.
Go watch it. All right, my number 3 is another tearjerker. I told you it was coming. and that is Anohana. So Anohana follows the story of Jinta, who, along with the rest of his friends who call themselves the Super Peace Busters, they the friends split apart. They drift apart after their close friend Menma dies in a tragic accident when they're in 6th grade. 5 years later, Jinta starts seeing Menma's ghost, and he basically is forced to reunite his old friend group because they've all drifted apart and started doing their own thing. They don't see each other anymore. He has to reunite them all so that they can help Menma's ghost pass on to the afterlife. It's another story like Your Lie in April about overcoming loss and dealing with a tragedy in your past, dealing with your demons. It's a romance to an extent, but it doesn't really tie so much into that as much as it does just dealing with tragedy. It's a really, really beautiful show. Uh, I think if you're into shows that'll make you cry, this is the one I would recommend above all else, even Your Lie in April. Like, this is my favorite tearjerker anime of all time. Characters are really good characters. Their like backstory and like how they perceived the incident is like really relatable. Like, I don't know if anyone else has had like tragedy go on in their life and they felt like they're partly to blame, but every one of these characters feels like they were the reason that this incident happened, and it's the reason that they drifted away from their friends. And so it's a really, really sad series, but it's really worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to cry, you watch Anohana. Like, I think that's like almost a consensus number one. Like, maybe that, and if it's a movie, Grave of the Fireflies, but it's like those two are like neck and neck. Where like, if you want to bawl like a bitch, like, watch Anohana.
Yeah, and the symbolism in Anohana is like really good as well. Like, I'd say watch the series first and then go watch Mother's Basement.
Yep.
I'll probably have said his name in a few videos now, even though I say all the time that I'm not a big fan of some of his opinions, but his analysis on shows is like 10 out of 10. It's what I wish I could do. I just can't. But his breakdown of that opening and how it relates to like the show as it goes on is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's top notch.
He's got it. Yeah.
All right, so that was our number 3. We had mine with Konosuba and Adam with Anohana. Now we're going to get to our number 2, and this is going to be really fun because our number 2s are the same, and that's Toradora.
Yes, Toradora.
Ab, do you want to start?
Oh,
or do you want to catch your breath? Okay. What I love about Toradora, so there's definitely something that just sticks with me with like romance anime, and something that just hits, and sometimes it's just unexplainable. Here's how much Toradora hit me. It was the middle of December. I was watching Toradora for the first time, and my internet went out, and for some reason, like the LTE coverage couldn't stream Crunchyroll. So what did I do? I went to the gym at 1 o'clock in the morning so I could connect to its Wi-Fi so I could watch Toradora. That's how much I love Toradora. I think it does the best job at giving hope for love. I love how I think a lot of people give Taiga shit for how bad of like a tsundere she is, but I think it's really clearly explained in the show why she has the troubles that she does. Like with her father, she has like family issues that she lives by herself and nobody loves her essentially. And why she's so reluctant to like show any form of emotion other than, I mean, she has like a crush, but it's not like love. And then when you realize that she loves Ryuji in the show, especially in the Christmas episode where like he like comes in the bear outfit and then he leaves and she's like, no, I don't want you to leave. Like, this isn't a crush. Like, I love you. And then she starts bawling because he's gone. And then Midori sees that. And just that whole episode encapsulate why I love Toradora. I think it just to me it's also like a personal thing where like I think it reflects on like my early past relationship like in high school, and I'm not gonna get into that, but like it definitely just hits like a note for me of like I can relate to Ryuji. Like I feel like I am him in his and Taiga's relationship. And it's just one thing about Toradora that I just absolutely love. I love all the cast of characters. I love like Ryuji's friends. I love Ami, even though she's kind of a bitch. I love Midorine, who's kind of all over the place because she doesn't know what she wants, which it's kind of an interesting story because at the end she realizes that she does like Ryuji, but it's too late. But she also realizes that she likes him and Taiga loves him, and so she's like the good friend and like doesn't like interfere. And I love it so much. So that's my rant on Toradora.
All right, so I think you covered a lot of it, but I do want to say there's one thing that really speaks to me about the show, and that's it's recognizing that there's a difference between having a crush and being in love.
Yep.
And sometimes those lines blur. And for Taiga, you covered it mostly for Taiga, where she has a crush on Kitamura, and that's really all it is. And she likes him because he's the first person who kind of whoever said like he cared about her. And so like that caused her to be infatuated with him. But then she learned to love Ryuji because he was that pillar that she needed in her darkest time.
Yep.
However, for Ryuji, he's got, for the most part, a strong connection with a few close people, like Kitamura and his mom. Even though she's not the best mom, he's got a relationship there, and he sees Minori as this outgoing, like, I have all my things figured out. She's the star softball player. She's everyone's best friend. She's what he aspires to be.
Yeah.
And so he develops these feelings of what he says he's in love with her, but what at least I interpret as more of a longing to be like that person. He just misinterprets that as love.
Yep.
And it isn't until Taiga comes up that you start to see the difference between infatuation and true like romantic feelings. And I think that's a thing growing up a lot of us have gone through. It can relate to at some point.
For sure.
And so seeing characters that are going through the same thing, and that the show truly understands that love is complex, it's confusing. Sometimes you don't understand it, and sometimes it doesn't play out the way you think it should or the way you want it to, but it's a beautiful thing nonetheless. No show does that better than Toradora.
You speak my mind, and I'm really glad that we have the same like opinions on Toradora. And I guess I have to ask the question: is Taiga the actual best girl, though? Are you like? Okay, let me say. Okay. Are you happy that Ryuji ended with Taiga?
I am happy that Ryuji ends with Taiga. However, I think my favorite girl is Ami. And not that I think Ryuji should be with her.
Okay.
Because I think him and Taiga form a better relationship. But I feel like you could write a thesis on her character.
Absolutely.
Her character's a lot more complex. But I feel like she's the only one from the beginning that understands what's going on from the beginning.
Yeah,
she realizes everybody's true feelings. And she makes herself out to be the villain so that they realize their feelings, even if she doesn't necessarily like Taiga and the rest of them, even if she is just trying to be manipulative.
Yep.
I think she is overall a good person at heart, and she makes herself a martyr. And that's why I like her the best. But
martyr is a strong word, but I know what you mean.
Well, in terms of the relationships.
Sure, yeah.
Because she ruins her shot. She ruins her shot with Ryuji. And possibly Kitamura, they really don't say, but like there's the whole complicated relationship between Kitamura and her, because I'm pretty sure the only reason he's like hung up on the upperclassman that's like a bitch to him is because he's secretly in love with Ami.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother theory.
Whole nother theory. All right.
But yeah, overall, I think Taiga was the right choice for Ryuji.
Okay, yes. I think Midorine is the best girl, but I think for terms like you said, for a relationship, that Taiga and Ryuji are like the best for each other. Really happy how it like ends. I don't know if you knew this, but like since the story kind of ends, they added the story in the visual novels. And do you know how that works out?
I mean, I have it. I guess I don't know if there's something I missed. So I mean, tell me.
Well, just like how Ryuji and Taiga like get married, he goes to Italy and they have triplets.
Oh yeah. I knew
Okay.
that.
I think a lot of people don't know that, so I just want to put that out there that they have a happy family in the end.
Yeah. I think Minori is the one character who I feel the most for, because even though she makes herself out to be like this outgoing, like I have all my ducks in a row type of person, she's no better off than the rest
Oh
of
yeah,
them.
she
And
is. She just puts on a mask. Like
yeah,
she's just really good at hiding everything.
yeah, and I feel bad for her because it's that mask that I think Ryuji actually fell in love with or started crushing on,
Yep.
however you want to put it. But like at the same time, like because of that, she doesn't get the until the very end. She doesn't get the full development I feel like they could have given her. Like you kind of just see the mask come off at the end.
Yep.
Like I feel like they could have done more with that. Not that it's a bad thing because it's not her story.
Yep.
But it makes you feel really bad for her. Like, oh look, she was hiding all this into. Like there's a whole nother story that could be told there.
For sure. And please, if they somehow made a Toradora after story, oh my god, I'd be so happy.
Oh,
That'd be the best. But
it
I,
would be.
I had like the question: if you were given $10 million and you could create one anime of your choice, what would it be? My answer is always Toradora after story.
I mean, I've never even sat down and thought about it, but like
That's another question for another time. Then.
Yeah, that makes me think like I would not be unhappy if that's what I spent my money on.
Yeah.
I'd be really happy if that's what I spend my money on.
For sure.
Because I'd love to see either a side story or just go into like Minorine's like whole like what's going on in her head during all of this.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Okay, so that is gonna wrap up our number 2. We both had Toradora. If you like romance, I think it's the best. Now it's time for the creme de la creme, our number 1 picks of all time. And mine is, if you listened to the podcast before, I've said it 1,000 times, and that is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I think it is the best story of all. Yeah, no, shocking. Guess what? It's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I think it's the best story of all time. How they intertwine like this crazy complex story of, essentially, it's like kind of depicting Germany and like the Nazi regime, but like in a different light. I think it's just so complex. I love the alchemy that's involved with it. I love the characters. Like there are so many top tier characters in this show. Edward Alphonse, Roy Mustang, Hawkeye, who else do we have? Olivier. Just all these like top S tier characters are so good and just mixed with everything that goes into the story and the action, and just like the conclusion is amazing. Like it's what you wanted. And there's so many like twists and turns that you don't see coming. So good. I love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood so much. It's not only my favorite anime of all time, it's my favorite show of all time. I recommend it to every single person. There's a reason why it is the number 1 rated anime of all time, because it is the best anime of all time. And that's just not me saying, that's the overall public, which they got it right this time. I know, Adam, you yeah, but to me, I love it so much. I watched the show in like 2013 or 14 when I didn't watch anime, and I thought, Jesus Christ, this show is unbelievable. And I never watched anime after that, which is weird, but that's just how much Full Metal Alchemist stuck with me. Oh, and the dub and the subs are both unbelievable. They're so good. I actually this is one of the shows where I recommend the dub. And I think your number 1 show, you also recommend the dub. So
absolutely.
So for me, get to know me a little bit. My number 1 anime of all time, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
All right, and speaking of dubs, we didn't even say Toradora. That dub's freaking amazing.
So good.
Just saying.
So good.
But all right, yeah, my number 1 anime is also a show I recommend watching dub, and that's Yu Yu Hakusho. And for me, I watched this show growing up on like, was it Adult Swim?
Yeah.
Probably back in like 2006. I don't even remember the year. I was high school time. But Yu Yu Hakusho follows the main character, Yusuke Urameshi. He's a delinquent with a bad reputation, no one expects anything out of, who comes across a kid playing ball on the side of the road. The ball bounces out into the street, and Yusuke runs into the road, saves the little kid's life, but dies in the process, which confuses the spirit world because they didn't expect him to die that day. So they send Botan, who's essentially the Grim Reaper, to give Yusuke a choice. He can either roam the world as a ghost because there's no room for him in the afterlife, or he can get his body back by becoming the next spirit detective of Earth, whose job it is to stop the world from an influx of demons and spirit beings and those who are just looking to throw the world into chaos. And it is one of the best shonen anime ever. It was written by the same guy who did Hunter x Hunter.
Yes, it
that
is.
was Yoshihiro Tagashi. It has the best tournament arc. I said before
100%.
that I love tournament arc shows, and the Dark Tournament is the best tournament, hands down. If you don't agree with me, at me. We can talk about it on Twitter because it is. Toguro is one of my favorite villains of all time. I'm not going to say he's the best villain, but he's a tragic hero who turns bad. That's all I'm going to say because any more would be spoilers, but it has wonderful villains. It has a wonderful core of main characters. Yusuke's cool. Kuwabara's the best.
Kuwabara's the best.
Kuwabara is a Yusuke's childhood rival. We'll say rival. They're not friends per se, but his is rival who Yusuke beats the crap out of all the time. But he's also one of the few people that actually gives a crap when Yusuke dies. He shows real emotion. Kuwabara is a genuine bro who's willing to put his body on the line for his friends and the people he cares about. You got Hiei, who's a demon with a stick up his butt, who's a cold personality, but he's actually he's a good guy at heart. He's a tsundere, really.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to admit it, but he actually is a good guy. And then you have Kurama, who is a fox demon and who is basically the most intelligent of the group. He's the strategist and pretty boy and all around just really good guy. I think the four of them make a really good, they make a great team, core team. And then the other characters, like I said, Togoro's a great villain. I'm spacing on his name from the Chapter Black saga. Wow. Okay.
Shinsui or something like that?
Shinobu Sensui.
Shinobu Sensui. That's what it
Shinobu
is.
Sensui, another wonderful villain. Genkai, who's voiced, I'm pretty sure is the same voice of the person who does Frieza from the Dragon Ball Z dub. She has that really raspy voice. Yep. I love it. I don't know. I think this is one of the best shonen anime you can watch, and it was airing around the same time as Dragon Ball Z, and while Dragon Ball Z gets a lot of that popularity from the anime crowd or just the casual anime audience, Yu Yu Hakusho is, in my opinion, better than Dragon Ball Z in nearly every way.
I agree. Yeah, Kuwabara, the best dub voice actor of all time, which is Christopher Sabat, who does All Might in the dub.
Yep.
So good. I love it. It's what honestly hooked me in the show. Because I'm not the biggest shonen guy, and I do like Yu Yu Hakusho, but what sold me was Kuwabara. He is unbelievable. He's one of my favorite characters of all time, and I think a lot of people consider this the best shonen of all time, especially Dark Tournament. If you like tournament arcs, the best tournament arc of all time is the Dark Tournament. Don't just at Adam if you disagree. At me too, because I completely agree that the Dark Tournament is unbelievable. So that is going to wrap up our overall favorite top 10 list. Just to recap real quick, my top 10, A Place Further Than the Universe was number 10. Code Geass was 9. Gurren Lagann was 8. Mob Psycho 100 was 7. Kids on the Slope was 6. Haiku was 5. Hunter x Hunter was 4. Konosuba was 3. Toradora was 2, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was number 1. Ab, did you want to recap your top 10?
Yeah, my top 10 were number 10, One Outs. Number 9, Kenichi, History's Mightiest Disciple. Number 8, Tohei Densetsu Akagi. Number 7, High School DxD. Number 6, Death Note. Number 5, Your Lie in April. Number 4, Gurren Lagann. Number 3, Anohana. Number 2, Toradora. And my number 1 favorite anime of all time is Yu Yu Hakusho.
Awesome. So that's our wrap up today's episode. Thank you for, if this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here since the beginning, thank you for being with us on our journey. I hope that we can do this for at least another year, if not more, with more anime coming out. There's so much more to talk about. So on behalf of me, I know on behalf of Am as well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you like this new format if you're watching on YouTube, and we will see you next time.